Inktober! Welcome everyone to this video from day 16. I'm your host, Samia, and we are over halfway through the month. How is everyone feeling? Are you tired yet? Oh man, there's been some ups and downs. I had a bit of a lull before, and now I'm feeling more on top of it and ready to get back into videos, and I'm feeling a bit more excited again, so here we go. When I went on my Pinterest a few days ago, I found this image on my feed of a girl with this really flowy skirt, and it was just moving in such an interesting way that I was like, yes, I want to use that and incorporate that into a drawing, so I incorporated it into this witch drawing. And so I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about line weight and how to create form and flow with different line weights. In this video, I used my favorite ink brush, that's a dip brush for her hair. I used some technical pens, some that I'm using up and some of my favorites. I used a water brush at one point, and I used a pocket brush pen. And the combination really allowed me to get a lot of interesting line weights. So with the ink brush for the hair, I tried to use the flexibility of the brush to my advantage so that it would form sort of these chunks of flowing hair after I'd sketched in very lightly which way I wanted them to flow. And it really lent a lot of flexibility, I guess, to her hair because it wasn't as stiff as a pen. So I could sort of like loosen my grip a little bit, and I moved my whole arm, not just my wrist, and I could make these longer strokes, and that's what I really love about using that. Then I used the pocket brush pen to outline most of her clothing, and you can get really thin and thick lines with it in one stroke, which is what I like about that and other pocket brush pens. So I would keep a light, looser grip, almost hovering above the paper a little bit when I wanted a thinner stroke, and then I would push down when I wanted a thicker stroke. And this gave the wrinkles in the fabric and her form in general just a little bit more shape and depth. It hinted at where the shadows might be the sharpest, and I tried to pay attention to that, so I put the thicker strokes where I felt the shadow would be heaviest, which is the light's coming from above, so it was in the lower sort of sides of the clothing, or a bit more to the left of the clothing, or back if it was a wrinkle in the front and then there were more wrinkles behind it, then I would put it thicker on the ones in the back, if that makes sense. And the thing about technical pens and why some people don't like using them is that their stroke that you get with it, it's a very consistent line. It doesn't change, unlike brush pens and nibs. So some people think it makes images look more static, and I agree. If you have the same line weight just once throughout your entire piece, it does make the image look very static. There's times where that might be what you want. For example, if you're doing architecture, it really pays off to have all your lines the same weight, at least in certain areas. It pays off to have really straight lines. But you can also build up your line with technical pens by going over a line once to establish it, right? And then going over parts of it again and again and building that line up. And you sort of see me do that when I'm putting in some of my shading strokes on like her shoes and like on the fingers too. You see me building up the lines a little bit. So these are just some ways that I was able to get more variation in my line weight, and that's something I really wanted to work on. This Inktober is not relying on just technical pens and just one stroke to establish a form, but to be able to use the lines to my advantage to show more aspects of the form, whether it's texture or the way things are wrapping around it or the light and shadow. So the other thing I wanted to achieve with this drawing is being less afraid of using spot blacks, because for whatever reason I sort of have been, and I've been using color to avoid that, if anyone has noticed. But I really wanted her to have some areas of just dark black, mainly her hair and her shoes, and then do a medium wash for her shirt, and I'll tell you the way I made a medium wash in a second. And I wanted there to be a big shape of space behind her that wasn't just white, so that she would be in some kind of field. So I just made a big shape that I filled in with black. I put some stars in it, I put that little ghost in it, and this is just my attempt to put my characters in a more interesting space, because I have a real weakness with putting my characters in backgrounds unless they're in actual, like, comic panels. And I don't know, I've just always had this problem. So this is something I'm trying to slowly tackle in my own little wimpy ways through Inktober. Oh, and what I'm doing right now with that water brush that you see me blending out those black patches is I noticed that the water brush started to smear where I used the pocket brush pen, because it is water-based ink, and it just looked kind of cool. And I was like, well, she's a witch, you know, she knows magic, right? So I decided to blend out more of the ink and then add in a bit more black on the wet area so it would diffuse, and keep blending it out, and then draw the black all around it when I put in the background so that it would look like her hands were glowing with magic. And this was maybe my favorite part of the whole piece, besides doing her hair, was this weird little hand effect. So finding happy accidents too, that your material does for you, right? Like, I didn't know my material was going to do that, rather I forgot. But then I made the most of it. That's what makes drawing fun, and that's what I think the fun of Inktober is being okay with stuff like that, and when things aren't working out, saying like, well, I did it. And, you know, it's one more drawing done. This is not a competition. This is a challenge that you give yourself to better yourself. That's how Jake Parker started it, so... Anyway, I just wanted to share that because I love that so much. Anyway, yeah, so I really wanted to tackle backgrounds. I was really happy with this piece. It was a good way to get back into not just doing Inktober, but recording. I took a couple days off from recording because I was kind of frustrated with my YouTube, and if you want to hear more about that, I explain it in my last video. But another thing that happened is that I had lost some of the footage that I recorded last week, the same day that some of my videos got taken down for no reason. So I was just really discouraged about everything and really anxious, and I think I'm gonna do a video about artists and anxiety, because I'm sort of noticing a trend that I'm not the only anxious one who happens to be an artist out there, and I want to talk about what those emotions are like and how do you handle that when you're constantly trying to create, because I know people think that art is fun and therefore it's easy, and something can be fun and difficult, and art is definitely that when you are trying to constantly better yourself, when you're trying to be a professional, when you want to get somewhere with it. So I would love the opportunity to talk about some of that, and if that's something you guys would be interested in, please tell me, please let me know how everything's going for you, and also if you have another topic to suggest to me for something to talk about for my other Inktober videos, I would really appreciate that, because I don't always know what people want to hear. I don't really know what people don't know or don't understand, because I've taken so many art classes in college and stuff like that, so maybe I take for granted that things like value and tonal range and things like that are like, you know, no-brainers, and then somebody doesn't even know what that means. So, like, please let me know. I'd be happy to talk about any of it. I'm sorry, I'm always tired. Are there any YouTubers that are not always tired, actually? Like, really? Are there? Because most of the ones I listen to, at least every other video, are like, yeah, I'm a little... Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm putting in my ink wash now in this video. I created a medium wash by, instead of pulling out my regular black ink, I actually just dipped my Pentel brush pen in a couple drops of water that I had in one of my inkwells on my tray, and just mixed it together until it was as dark as I wanted. And that's how I made an ink wash, and it's kind of a good way to make ink wash on the go if you don't want to carry a bottle with you, or if you don't have bottled ink like lying around. So it worked out pretty well, and I really liked how the medium wash looked. I also use a Signo white gel pen to outline her hair just a little bit more and some areas of her clothing so that she really pops from where the black background is behind her. And to finish it off, I put a pop of color in there with just like making the bows red on her hat and on the ghost hat. and I gave her a little blush with a Copic marker and gave her some highlights and made the stars a little bit sharper too because they were getting a little lost in the black ink. And that's basically it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more and to check out some of the other Inktober videos I've made. Anyway, until next time, keep drawing and have a good one. Bye guys!